Hello, I'm Fee from Catkin and Pussywillow. Thank you for joining us for our second Catkin Home Flower School lesson. This week we're going to be working with some Oasis and doing some Oasis-based work. And we thought we'd do it with a letter to show you. This will make a really pretty prezi for someone if you're missing them and thinking of them, or you could hang it on your door or on a shelf somewhere to brighten up a room. And we're going to be using really lovely garden cheerful flowers. So starting with a favourite, which is sweet peas, which are starting to come through now, and they'll smell really lovely and give the room a nice fragrance. And then we've got these Tanacetum daisies, which are another great spray flower to pop in when you're using Oasis, because they spread through really nicely. These Mansfield Park roses are really lovely because they have got the different size heads of the roses coming out at different stages, and then the buds also make for a really nice texture. Oxypetalum, we talked about this last week. These really pretty little blue flowers that we will break the stem up, and I'll show you how to mix through as we go. Then we have Craspedia. This is a really fun one. We love using these in bouquets and all sorts because of their fun shape, and they just give a lovely dimension to the work. Again, another cottage garden one, the Nigella, or Love in the Mist, as it's also called. Again, you can see how beautifully textured it is, and the star shape will just give another shape to the work as we go. And we've got lovely ranunculus. We've got a really bright yellow going into slightly more sort of creamy yellow. And then anemones, again, which we love, and with their black centres, they'll help bring your eye around the display too. Okay, and then we've got our foliage. This is Pittosporum, which is a really nice variegated leaf. And then we've got a eucalyptus called Gunny, and you can see it's got lovely little, very delicate heads on it, which will just look lovely and frothy through the Oasis. And I forgot, we've also got Muscari, which are grape hyacinths. Again, there's another nice texture to work with. And that's what's quite important when you're doing base work, or all flowers really, is mixing up the textures and toning through the colours so that it all takes your eye around and keeps you looking and makes it interesting. So I'm going to first of all soak the Oasis, and that all you need to do is put that face down, foam side down, into a bowl of water or a sink. Make sure that you filled it first, don't fill it as you go, because the bubbles can get trapped and then trap in the Oasis. You probably need to pop that in for about 2 to 3 minutes, let the bubbles all disperse out the foam. When you hear it stop bubbling and drop slightly, then it's ready to come out. Don't leave it in for too long because you can sort of over soak it. Okay, and then I'm going to first of all organise my greenery to give myself a bit of head start by cutting that into small pieces. So the idea is, because we haven't got a very big Oasis space, is to keep everything really neat and small and delicate, so we work quite finely. So it's a labour of love working with Oasis like this, and you've got to just keep thinking nice and small and neat. So I'm cutting down lovely little sprigs of the Gunny, and what I'll do is I'll then clean the stems, rip away a few leaves and clean the stems to a certain level, and they will be placed into the Oasis. So make yourself a nice little pile of those. And then where you've gone down the stem of the foliage, try and cut it to the junctions, because you don't want any stalky bits showing up and making your display not look so delicate and pretty. one I've done is more of a bit of a spray. It's a labour of love, this. Start with that. So I think my oasis is probably nearly ready. I'll just check. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So I'm going to work in little sections, and what I'll do is I'll green up a section, and then I'm going to add some flowers in, and then we'll work along like that. There we go. So, when you cut your stems to go into the oasis, same rule as last week when we were cutting the stems at the end for the bouquet, still cut on an angle, because although it's tiny, it gives as much surface area as it can to take the water from the oasis, and it also just helps give a nice clean dive into it so that you're not making big clumpy holes, so it's nice and tight. And I always work at a slight angle with the foliage and just put in nice and firmly so that it's sitting in place. And not going to fall out too easily. So you want to be putting it in about the third of the way of the stem that you've got. And if you work at everything going in at the same angle, it just gives it a nice flow as you go up the foam. Obviously, where you've got the ends of your you don't have to be as strict as that, and you can just come round. And what I'm also doing is I'm working from the bottom, coming up. And then if you put those bottom pieces in slightly facing so that they're going down, it just helps cover the plastic a little bit so you don't see all that ugly plasticky bit. It's just all the lovely greenery. As you're putting stems into the oasis, it will leak a bit. The water will start to come out, so you might want to put some cloth or some plastic down just to protect your work area if you don't want it dripping everywhere. It's not too bad, but just to think. So I'm sort of looking at each little bit of foliage, its shape, and how it will work in my spot that I've got my mind on where I'd like it to go, and mixing up the two different types of foliage. So you're not just having one clumpy bit of the same colour. And also bearing in mind that I've got to create a definition when I go across for the bar for the A. Okay, so I've made that bit, I've greened up that little bit there. I'm now going to pop some flowers into it just to start me off to see where I'm going. So I'm going to put one focal flower in first, and that's going to be, the focal flowers are the round flowers. So your ranunculus, your anemones, the roses, and the craspedia. And sweet peas are more like a secondary flower because they're not quite so, they've got a slight different shape which will break the roundness up. So I'm going to put that nice spray rose in there, and he's going to sit in a nice prominent spot there. And next to that, because of how they're growing on the stem, I'm also going to add a bud with it as well to sort of emulate how they would have been sat together on the stem. I'm then going to use a little bit of oxypetalum to then sit next to it, because I think those two colours are very pretty together. And you can see on here, they come off in little branches, so you can take your scissors and snip right close to the main stem to create a little mini bud, a mini set of flowers for you to have. And you pop that in there. And then I'm going to put some tanacetum in. Again, I found a little branch and taken a posy of those flowers off it. Nice and small, and very delicate. Pop those in like that. And then I've got another focal flower here, the nigella, which I'm going to put a little bit further up, just there. I don't want it to take away from the rose too much, so I'm going to pop that there. And you can see you've got a lovely train, and then I'm going to take my Cryptopedia, give a little pop of yellow, and pop it in there. You can see it's already starting to form a really pretty little base of flowers. With the nigella, you've also, same with the bud from the rose, you've got little offshoots which work that you can pop them in too. And they're very pretty to add in. The stems are a little bit soft, so they might take a little bit of encouragement to go into the oasis, but just and then I'm going to put a bit more tanacetum in to spread through. Working, not forgetting to work around the sides as well as the top, and you're working on a nice curve so that everything is sort of proportioned with each other. And I've got a little spare head of sweet pea here, put that down there. A bit more foliage at my end because I put enough in. Okay, and then a bit more tanacetum. Just keep checking to see where there's gaps and there's holes, because you don't really want to see any of the foam at all at the end. So just keep looking and working around it. And you can go back and add a bit of foliage in if you think you've missed a bit. Okay, and so there you are, starting to come along. So I'm going to work on the next bit now, carry on greening up the next bit. I don't like that bit, I'm going to use that. Because that's it, don't, if the stem isn't right, don't persevere with it. Just put it down and use a different one. Still always working away from me with the foliage at a slight angle. Helps give coverage to the base as well if you work at an angle. And in here where you've got the centre of the A, you just, obviously you want to cover it, but you don't want to fill the hole. So you just need to use really little, tiny bits of greenery just to cover it up a little bit. Otherwise, if you get too long with your stems, you'll lose the shape of the A. So you can sort of find, cut another bit, you can find bits that's suitable for shape. Here we go. So start with where I left off from the previous section. I'll put some tannocene in. So as you can see, the next section's greened up and ready for some more flowers. So I think where I've got quite a lot of pinks here, I think I need a nice yellow there just to start to bring your eye through, because I've got the yellow of the Cresspedia there and the little tannocene snaking through. So I'm going to put a really lovely yellow ranuncular in to lift it all a little bit. And you can see that works really nicely with the gunny and the pittosporum too. And then take some more tannocene to break up the area a bit, or cut that a bit long. You shouldn't really, once you've put your foliage in, you shouldn't really take it out again, because you'll start to get, foliage and flowers, because you start to get too many holes in the foam, and it will start to break down the foam. So don't do what I just did and take it out and redo. Try and be quite confident in where you want things to go and put them in as you go. I'm going to actually get a little rosebud there. And some nice Nigella petal buds from there. In fact, no, I'm going to use a little mascara. Nice different length and shape. Just poking out next to the ranunculus. Okay, and then I've got this lovely anemone here, which has got a slight blush to it. Proud anemone. And I'm actually going to pull away its beardy petals because it will take up too much. They'll take up too much space. So I'm just sort of snap them away from the stem. He's going to go in right there. More Tennesseeton. Throw your stems away as you go, so then you don't get them all muddled up. Another mascara just along there to help bring him up the line. They are a bit delicate, the mascara, so be careful as you put them in. I think a sweet pea in there. And I'm going to have another Speedia. That's a nice round shape, can go there. I've just seen down here, you can always go back as well if you see, I mean at the end it's a good idea to do it as well and fill in any holes. I've just seen a little hole there that I wanted to, I'm going to take another sweet pea and pop them in there. And another rose bud. So it's really, there's no sort of hard and fast instructions on how to do any of it. It's just your eye and how you see it all as you're going and what you think looks pretty as you go. Just try and keep it all nice and mixed and interesting, I think is the, you want to look at it more than once and see different things each time you look at it. Not that one, I think Noxie Petal. Okay, you see we're starting to form a really lovely side now, which is really pretty flowers. I need to sort this little bit out here. Put some more gunny in, I think. And then at the end there, I think a gel flower is going to look really nice. Take that to the top. So I'll get started on greening on the next run. You can green it all up first as well, And that's sometimes, I think it's just nice to do it in sections as you go, because you don't lose your way then with the holes, the gaps, and sometimes if you green it all up and then do all your flowers, you sort of lose where you are on your area, and you get a bit jumpy all over the place, rather than just really focusing on making sure one area is nice and fully flowered and greened and got all the detail in it. It's a bit sticky. Don't forget to keep in mind the shape of the letter as well. It's too soft. Some of the stems where they're young. So you see there where it's cut, and I've got it's cut from another stem. I just cut those stalks out because they're quite ugly. I'm still working with the foliage going in the same direction as well. A little bit more of this. Okay, so that's my next section greened up, I think. I'm going to put more flowers in. And I'm going to have that ranunculus that I didn't use earlier. Yep. Back to my sprays of Tanacetum. And then I think the scarring there would be very pretty. Just coming through here. Like that. And then I'm going to have a spray rose. I don't want, because it's quite narrow at the top there, I'm going to try and find a slightly smaller headed one. In, and I've got a little hole to fill that with some pretty delicate gunny. And I think a bit more Tanacetum. And then I'm going to take another ranuncular and come down here with it. And there's a slight angle on that, so you see I'm not just putting things straight on top, I'm still keeping to the same slight sloping movement, and this will be just off on the side rather than flat on the top. Yep. See, it's sort of starting to come along. working along this bit here just to get a bit of detail in there. I'm going to take another rosebud to pop in this corner. And that's fine, I think. Carry on working down this now, and it needs a sweet pea, I think. Do you see how I'm just working down the stem? So where there's a good break line there, I'm just snipping that to give myself the strength of the main stem of the sweet pea, but not having to use it all up. Cut that down a bit, it's a bit longer for the spot I want it for. I'm going to put that in there instead of the rosebud. Can go there. And there you go. There's the A. Very pretty, cheerful spring flowers. Hope you can have a go. Whatever letter that you would like. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you.